They work for the High Court, and if a judge says you're owed money, it's the sheriff's job to go and get it.
Hey, all the keys.
I'm going to be calling a locksmith.
They can demand payment on the spot.
What can you pay us now?
We're going to get the cash, are you? Are you paying the bill?
Or remove assets instead.
You've got 30 minutes to make the payment.
We'll start removing stuff from the building.
You'll have a week to pay in full before it gets sold at auction.
Obstructing their work can be a criminal offence.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. Don't lie to me.
No mess tins.
Every year, sheriffs in England and Wales recover unpaid debts totalling more than £80 million. Coming up, when Rob and Gerald visit a restaurant, tempers flare.
We're going to call our community and there will be a big fight here.
And they're forced to call the police.
Right, do me a favour, mate. Do not touch my camera, right?
Steve Flowers splashed out £2,000 on parts for his pride and joy.
When you speak to the guy, and he's all sort of genial, and then you find out that he's just shafted you.
When Lawrence and Kev hunt down the man who took Steve's money, he's not pleased to see our camera. A minicab company say they can't pay their debt, so Andy and Adi start hunting for assets.
Anything in the safe? It's locked. We'll ask the director to open that up.
And when Tracy and Adam have a writ for a pharmacy, it's their van that needs treatment.
Somebody stuck a brick through the van window.
Restaurants and bars are 3 times more likely than other UK businesses to go bust. It's a notoriously difficult industry to be successful in. So it's no surprise that many ventures end up in debt and then find the sheriffs at their doors. It's early evening in November, and Rob Foster and Gerald Anderson are on their way to a fish restaurant.
Going to the Shepherd's Bush, a part of London today. Looking for a company called Pacific Blue Ocean Limited. The claimants carried out some drainage maintenance for the company and obviously haven't been paid.
The maintenance company took Pacific Blue Ocean Limited to court, but they didn't defend it, and the restaurant was ordered to pay up. But they still haven't, so now it's in the hands of Rob and Gerald.
So we're there now to enforce the writ for the amount of just over £1,000.
For the sheriffs, a restaurant presents some challenges. Not least that when they're open, they tend to be full of customers, and there's often no chance of a private conversation with the owners. Their job is still the same as usual: uphold the law by collecting payment or taking control of goods. Before that, Rob and Gerald's thoughts turn to their stomachs.
My favourite, I'd say, is cotton chips with gravy.
Gravy? Not entirely sure how people do that. It's got to be curry. Certainly not gravy.
As they approach the address on the writ, Rob spots the business.
It says it's on our right here.
There it is, Blue Ocean.
They head in to tell Pacific Blue Ocean Limited it's time to settle their debt. It's 4:50 p.m. The restaurant is open, and there are already diners at some tables.
Hello?
We're enforcement agents from the Sheriff's Office. Here's my identification. We've got a High Court writ. Where's the owner about?
He's not here now.
Can you ring him?
The manager is not here.
You're going to have to ring him.
It doesn't look like that's going to happen very quickly.
Is he going to call him, is he?
I'm assuming so. Appears to still be making his coffee.
I need to speak to the owner.
There's still no sign that anyone is going to call the company director, Mr. Harrod. But a woman appears from the back.
Are you the owner?
No.
We need to get a hold of Mr. Harrod because it either needs to be paid or we're removing goods.
She says the restaurant hasn't received any notification of the debt and can't deal with it now.
You've had letters sent out, the courts sent letters out, we've sent a notice of enforcement out, we've had no response.
Give us every message you have on the table.
Rob wants the woman to understand how serious the situation is.
We don't just leave a letter and go. We'll take all the assets with us, including the entire kitchen, all the machines, all the tables, all the chairs. We'll take it with us, and then we'll leave them a letter to pay it once it's all gone.
Having just said they don't know about the debt, the woman now has more information.
Just to be paid already.
It hasn't been paid.
Yeah.
It hasn't been paid.
Paid already.
What do you mean he's paid it already? Mr. Harrod, is he on his way down?
The most frustrating thing for the sheriffs is when a debtor refuses to communicate. Rob doesn't want to argue with the front of house staff. He just needs to speak to the boss.
She won't give me an answer that what time he's coming down here. So no one's going to answer me if he's on his way down.
If they can't speak to the boss, the only thing the enforcement agents can do is start exploring the restaurant. Gerald heads behind the bar to check out the stock.
The owner will come, wait there till
Right,
he's
as
coming.
long as the owner come in?
Yeah. We call him. He
Right,
will come.
okay, if you call the owner,
Yeah,
then no problem at all.
wait him there.
Yeah, I'll wait here.
Sheriffs have a duty to investigate a debtor's premises, but the woman isn't happy, and their exchange is threatening to cause a scene. One of the customers wades in.
So what's going on?
Are you the owner of the business?
No.
There we are, then I can't discuss it with you, all right?
What he's doing is not right. You don't have rights to get there.
Don't tell me what rights I've got. I know what rights I've got. I have the right to come in here under a High Court writ and seize everything in this
We
property.
have a lawyer, and we're gonna call our lawyer
Give your lawyer a ring,
to
then.
prosecute you.
The last thing the sheriffs want is an argument with the restaurant's diners. Rob just wants to speak to the boss.
Is someone going to call him?
But it's not going to be the boss that the man's calling.
We're gonna call our community, and there will be a big fight here.
Right, there we are. Perfect. We'll now call the police because that's a threat of violence.
So listen,
All right?
You started. You
Yeah.
started. You started.
Yep. If you obstruct myself or my colleague, it is a criminal offence.
Rob and Gerald can't take any chances.
Please. The occupants of the property have threatened to get the community down here now for a big fight.
With both sides expecting to be vindicated by the police, the man calms down and goes back to his supper.
The police are on the way, all right? It's getting a bit heated here at the moment. They're not happy that we're here. They don't believe we have any authority to be here. But the problem is we are acting within the law. There we are. Police are here now.
10 minutes after the call, the police arrive.
Hello, officers. You're right. We've got a High Court writ to enforce here today. At the moment, my intention here is to either get payment in this matter or remove all the goods. Okay. This gentleman here has been in our faces all evening. Okay. He's also threatened to call the entire community and get them down here, and there'll be a big fight. I'm taking that as a threat of assault.
The man, however, is expecting the police to tell the sheriffs they can't enforce.
We need payment now, or the case is going to escalate and
Under
we'll
the
start
protection
removing.
of the law.
Yeah.
We are enforcing part of the law.
The law states that if it's not paid today, I have to take everything away.
Do whatever you want.
We don't want to do something like
Do
that.
whatever you want.
We don't want to do something like that.
He's still not convinced, but thanks to the police, the imminent threat of a big fight has receded. Gerald is concerned there's another flashpoint coming.
If they don't pay and they won't get hold of the boss, we're left with no other choice but to remove assets.
Okay.
They've obviously said that
I
won't.
understand that
They've said it. They said it won't happen.
Okay. We're here strictly to prevent any breach of the peace and just trying to calm the situation down. Just talking to people in a calm manner, explaining the situation, that kind of prevents anything from happening.
The police let the staff know that if it comes to it, they're not going to be stopping the removal of goods. And that seems to have an effect.
When?
He's in North London. He's traveling to here.
Yeah, how long will it take?
We cannot predict it.
The boss is now apparently on his way.
Is he going to pay it? If so, I can send him a link to his phone and he can just pay it.
Just as it looks like Rob's finally making progress, another man comes in from the back. He's not the boss, and he's not come to pay.
Right, do me a favour, mate. Do not touch my camera, right?
Listen, don't be grabbing.
Right.
Wait outside, right?
Gentleman, obviously got a little bit tasty. He's been escorted out by the police and now being briefed by the police on what he should be doing and what he shouldn't be doing. I.e., he cannot start putting his hands on people.
The atmosphere in the restaurant is heating up. With the man ejected and with the other diners having left, the police officers aren't letting anyone else in.
So me and my colleague have made a decision to stop any further people coming in, apart from the people here, to provide security for yourself, us, and the enforcement agents.
Customers are now being turned away and the business is empty. Later, with the boss still absent, Gerald takes decisive action.
I've escalated it on stage 2. It's now £1,745.
Using the county courts to try and recover money you're owed isn't difficult. 1.5 million money claims are paid every year in England and Wales, involving anything from faulty goods or poor workmanship to unpaid invoices. Claims can be filed online or by post for a small fee. Both parties in the case will be asked to submit evidence, and you may have to attend a court hearing. If you're successful, a county court judgment, or CCJ, will be issued against the debtor. If they still don't pay, that's when you call the sheriffs. The sheriffs have an impressive track record when it comes to recovering debts for their clients. But that doesn't always mean getting payment in full there and then. Sometimes they'll give the debtor time to come up with the money. In the meantime, they'll take control of items that could later be sold to clear the debt. It's coming up to 8 a.m, and High Court enforcement agents Lawrence Grix and Kev McNally are in the van, heading for the south coast.
We're in sunny Hastings. We're going to see Dean Daniel of Westlake Motor Heritage. He owes the grand total of £2,944. That is relating to differential conversion kits for Triumph Stags.
Westlake Motor Heritage, not to be confused with any other company of a similar name, manufactures parts for classic British sports cars, including the Triumph Stag. But the sheriff's client today didn't have a happy experience with the company.
He paid for this and never received goods, so eventually cancelled and requested a refund, which he never got.
This is the claimant, Steve Flowers, a mechanical engineer from Suffolk.
Been into classic cars most of my life.
And this is Steve's pride and joy, a 1976 Triumph Stag.
V8 engine, twin heads. I've done quite a bit on it myself. The engine, it's all been lightened and balanced. It's got gas flowed heads, 4-barrel carb. A lot of people refer it to as a hairdresser's car.
But Steve doesn't agree, and he should know. He spent the last 12 years lovingly restoring it. Now it's almost ready for the open road.
The engine's perfect. Gearbox is great, the rest of the car is great, other than the diff.
The what? Apparently the diff, or rear differential, transfers engine power to the rear wheels. So it's pretty important as far as performance is concerned.
This is the diff. This has been the bane of my life.
It needed replacing, but the original part is no longer manufactured, and Steve didn't want a used one. Instead, he found Dean Daniel, trading as Westlake Motor Heritage, who said he could provide a new diff, specially modified for a Stag.
He seemed a nice guy, knew what he's talking about. So it's £1,500 for the differential and £500 for the drive shafts. He said, yeah, I want a deposit, £500, fine.
It seemed like a fair price to Steve, and he paid the £500 deposit. They agreed the parts would be ready in time for him to drive to a classic car event at the Spa racetrack in Belgium that summer.
Spa is a highlight of my year. When you turn up in your car, and it's your car, and you've built it, and it's got you there with maybe minimal amount of oil leaks and minimal amount of water leaks, you feel really proud and you think, yeah, I've done a good job here.
As the event drew closer, Steve started to worry that the parts weren't going to arrive in time. Then he got the phone call he'd been waiting for.
He said it was ready. And I said, fine. And so if you transfer the money over, I said, yeah, not a problem.
Steve paid the £1,500 balance, but the parts he'd ordered still didn't arrive.
And then for the next few months, I got promises it was going to be ready, then this wasn't going to happen, and that wasn't going to happen.
The Spa Classic car event that Steve was eagerly anticipating came and went. The Triumph wasn't ready, and Steve had to go as a passenger in a friend's car.
It spoilt my year, to be honest. When you speak to the guy, and he's all sort of genial, and yeah, I can do this and do that, and then you find out that he's just shafted you, isn't it? Well, I got very angry.
Steve eventually sourced a second-hand differential and got the Stag up and running again. But Mr. Daniel still had Steve's £2,000 and his order.
Then cancelled it. And I said, I want my money back. I've had enough. You messed me around enough.
But when his money wasn't returned, Steve took the matter to court. And when Mr. Daniel didn't contest the case, judgment was issued in Steve's favour. Even then, he didn't get paid. He's now upgraded the judgment to the High Court and got a writ.
I thought, right, you ain't going to get away with it. I'm going to get my money back one way or another.
Back in Hastings, Lawrence is looking forward to a job that takes him back to his own heady days of sports car ownership.
I had a Trump Stag back in the day, and I managed to blow my diff. Bit of a pig of a job, laying on your back with the car on axle stands, trying to grapple the diff out from between the chassis rails, but I managed it in the end. But yeah, if I could have got a better one, I would.
It's all double Dutch to Kev. But before he can say anything, they arrive. There are plenty of cars on site, but none of them vintage.
Thought there'd be a garage out here somewhere. Yeah, there's nothing around there.
Should be here somewhere.
They head into reception, but there's no one around. High Court enforcement agents have the power to enter a commercial premises, so Lawrence and Kev head through.
Where's our one then? It's not what we want, is it?
No. It's not going to be that.
They can't find Dean Daniel's unit, but they do bump into some men in the corridor.
Looking for Westlake Motor Heritage?
And although at first they seem to have no idea either,
Walked through the door. It was open.
It turns out one of them is the landlord.
My name's Mr. Griggs. I'm an enforcement agent, as is my colleague.
Do you know them?
Yeah, he's a tenant of ours.
So can you point us in the right direction, please?
He's not here.
Not here as in gone permanently or temporarily?
Just not here at the moment.
Here at the moment.
If Westlake Motor Heritage and Dean Daniel really aren't here, there might not be much the sheriffs can do today. Just to make sure, the landlord leads them round, and to everyone's surprise, Mr. Daniel is here after all.
Dean?
Yes.
My name's Mr. Griggs. My colleague and I are enforcement agents.
Yeah, well, come in. Why do I need a camera?
At last, they've found the debtor, but he isn't pleased to see the camera, so we wait outside. Lawrence explains to Mr. Daniel that he's got a High Court writ in Stephen Flowers' favour that commands him to collect the £2,944 owed. Mr. Daniel says he's aware of the debt and says that although he doesn't have the money to pay it, he has arranged to borrow some from a friend. The problem is that the cash injection isn't due to arrive for a few more days. Lawrence isn't keen to wait and doesn't think Steve will be either. He tells Mr. Daniel that if he can't get hold of the money sooner, his goods could be removed instead. And the unit is full of valuable assets, mostly machine tooling and parts. As Lawrence contemplates taking control of some of it, he can't resist the chance to reminisce with Mr. Daniel about his own experiences in an old Stag.
Engines aren't my thing, so let him crack on with it. Lawrence had to recount a few of his stories from his youth about changing head gaskets and whatever else he does crawling around in the nuts and bolts and oil.
Inside, Lawrence hasn't had any luck in hurrying along Mr. Daniel's investor. With no payment offer on the table, it's going to have to be the assets.
He has got a lot of assets there that are definitely going to cover the amount we're after by a long shot. Probably give him a couple of days to pay, list the assets there, and if we have to, come back and remove them.
The High Court writ commands the sheriffs to either collect payment or take control of goods. But taking control doesn't always mean physically removing stuff. In this case, Mr. Daniel will have to sign a Controlled Goods Agreement, or CGA, which will mean his assets technically belong to the court and can't be sold or otherwise disposed of. But they can remain on the premises, giving him time to come up with the money while continuing to trade. And with that agreed, Lawrence and Kev head out.
This way out, wasn't it?
They leave with thousands of pounds worth of machinery listed, and an agreement that payment will follow.
Job went well? He's a nice enough chap, to be fair, knew all about it, and he's just going to get it sorted. So we listed a few assets down and give him a couple of days to pay.
It might seem like the sheriffs let Mr. Daniel off the hook, but taking control of goods puts them firmly in the driving seat. Under the terms of seizure, they can force entry to his unit at any time and remove them if he doesn't pay up as agreed.
You know, going on instinct, he's going to pay that, no problem. If not, we'll be back to remove the goods. There's plenty of assets to cover the amount we were after.
Kev's instincts were proved correct when Mr. Daniel made the payments he promised. It's been a triumph for the sheriffs. Steve has finally got the money he's owed.
All my thanks are to Lawrence and Kev. I gather Lawrence is a massive car fan, and I got the full payment, and I'm really, really happy.
Back in West London, Rob and Gerald are still in Pacific Blue Ocean, a restaurant that owes a debt to a drainage firm. They've been trying to get hold of the boss for more than half an hour.
The manager is not here.
You're going to have to ring him.
We're going to call our community and there will be a big fight here.
With customers and staff unhappy with their presence, they've had to call the police to calm things down.
Right, do me a favour, mate. Do not touch my camera, right?
Hey, listen, don't be grabbing.
Right.
Wait outside, right?
The police have closed the doors to prevent any further altercations. They've effectively stopped the restaurant from trading. The woman now makes an offer.
We cannot afford to pay all of it today, so can we pay half?
No, it needs to be paid in full. Unfortunately, with the attitude that we've seen today and the aggression we've seen today, we're not going to be able to do that. It needs to be settled tonight, or we'll remove goods to close this file. I'm not having either ourselves or another officer or the police having to waste their time by coming back down again to deal with this. It needs to be dealt with now.
Over half an hour since he first asked, Rob finally gets to speak to the director, Mr. Harrod. He now says he's coming down to the restaurant.
Right, how long are you going to be? On your way is not good enough because you could phone in another hour's time and go, I'm still on my way, I'm still stuck in traffic, it's going to be another hour. We don't work like that. Have you got a smartphone? Have you got the internet? I can send you a payment link to your phone. You go into that link and you can make the payment.
He says he can't, but he will send his card details to a member of staff who will make the payment on his behalf.
We're now hoping that that's going to go through and that will resolve things.
What it's asking you for now is to enter your card number.
But it's not that simple.
Looks like it's failed for whatever reason.
And the next attempt doesn't go through either. Despite the restaurant agreeing to pay just moments earlier, it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
That failed for whatever reason. I don't think they're entering the right details.
Rob warns the police that he and Gerald might have no choice but to escalate to removal.
We'll give you a heads up before we start doing that, then we won't just jump into it.
Before that, he tries to make sure the woman understands that if the debt isn't paid very soon, then further fees will be added. The bill is already nearly twice what they owed the drain maintenance company in the first place.
This is a £600 debt that's gone up to almost £1,200. It goes up hugely. It can go up to almost £3,000. From £600 to £3,000, it's huge.
Rob offers the woman one last chance to pay.
Either putting the payment through now or time up.
But with no money forthcoming, the enforcement agent's options have finally run out.
Can you tell him it's now £1,745? I've escalated it onto stage 2.
Escalating the enforcement to stage 2 means Rob and Gerald list the business's assets and start preparing for a potential removal.
What I'm going to start doing now is lugging all the tables and chairs and start piling them up the door here.
It looks like they really will need to empty the restaurant to have any chance of getting the drainage company's money. But just then...
Yes, ma'am.
Is that him in the taxi?
Yes.
Right.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I do.
To their surprise, he says he's already paid the debt.
This is the letter, is it?
This letter I took this morning and I paid already 575 baht.
What, you've had that letter this morning?
Yeah, this morning.
Dated
Aspect-
the 25th of
aspect
July,
code.
2017.
No, it makes,
This morning.
no, it makes no difference at all.
No.
This was Thursday,
No, no.
Tuesday, 25th July. Don't care. Means nothing at all to me. You need to pay the amount that we're here for.
The man's letter is 4 months old.
We're enforcing. You've got. So this was posted on the 25th of July, and you received this letter today. Yeah.
What the boss has appears to be the original invoice from the drainage company. He didn't pay them for their work at the time, and it's since been through court, and then a writ issued for the money. He's a little too late. The £600 bill has become a £1,750 writ of control at stage 2.
No, you haven't. We've got a High Court writ here that says how much you have to pay. Our amount needs to be paid, otherwise I'm taking the lot away.
You need to agree to pay this now, or it's going up another stage.
He's not happy.
It was that much when I came here 2 hours ago. It's £1,745. Yeah, it was that amount there until 5:30. It's now 6:45. So that there is where I've given you warning. That there is the amount that you need to pay, £1,745.66.
With the goods by the door ready for removal, Gerald no longer has the appetite for an argument. It's time to bring this job to an end.
Are we going to pay this or not? Simple as that. I'm not arguing with you. Are you going to put your cards into my machine or not?
You need to answer now, or it's going to go to over £2,500.
That's the next stage.
And we remove
Once I start-
further cost.
Card? Thank you.
And with that, the boss pays the whole stage 2 fee on a card.
No right here.
All right.
Where's my right?
Your right was to answer your mail and go to court and respond to it. You've had plenty of court letters, you've had plenty of letters from us.
Here's your receipt. Thank you, sir.
Well done.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And much to everyone's relief, the sheriffs leave.
Cheers, gents. Thank you very much, sirs. Cheers.
Cheers, thank you.
The police were a godsend there today. I believe if they weren't there, we had a very large crowd starting together.
It's been an exhausting evening for the sheriffs, but they've demonstrated that they have the tenacity to get their clients the money the court has ordered.
Unfortunately, in situations like this, they could have dealt with it much easier, much quicker. There was no need for the threats, there was no need for wasting the police time in attendance, but unfortunately, when someone threatens to call the entire community down and there's going to be a big fight, we've got to take it seriously.
A long, drawn-out case, but a damn good result was achieved at the end of it. Payments in full, all sorted.
Pacific Blue Ocean Limited have learned the hard way that it's much better to pay their debts before the High Court has to get involved. When debtors can't pay on the spot,
Are you going to pay the bill?
What do you mean, no?
the sheriffs won't always remove assets. Goods go for almost a fifth of their true value at auction, and it's often better to agree a payment plan.
Do you reckon you can do 200 a week?
They'll make a list of assets.
That's a nice man,
Rice cookers.
7 wrist bracelets.
And a controlled goods agreement is signed, making it an offence for anyone else to remove them.
You sign it, I sign it.
The sheriffs will only return to take the goods if the debtor fails to make payments.
I've signed him up to £1,000 a month. Providing you stick to that, you won't hear from us again.
Tracy Lee and Adam Crossley are on their way to Leeds, heading to a business that owes a substantial sum of money.
The writ is against a pharmacy, Khan Pharmacy. It's just short of £10,000 we're looking to recover this morning.
Khan Pharmacy owes the money to a supplier, which hasn't been paid. They took the shop to court, but when it didn't enter a defence, judgment was made against them. When they still didn't pay, the supplier got a writ, and today the pharmacy owes £9,096.64.
Here we are. It's bigger than I expected.
The premises is large, and Tracy and Adam park up round the corner and head in, hopeful that the pharmacy will have goods to the value of their debt.
Morning.
Morning.
Is the owner in?
It's regarding an outstanding debt. There's a High Court writ that we're here to enforce. Who's the proprietor?
It's my husband.
Is Mr. Khan about?
Well, his car is broken down. He's running a little bit late.
Right, are you able to get him on the telephone?
Yeah.
If you can do that, please.
She calls her husband, and he says he's on his way. Meanwhile, Tracy and Adam check out the assets.
There's a lot of shelves empty. Bit sparse, isn't it?
Some electric toothbrushes up here, which I should imagine are retailing at £40, £50 a piece.
It's not £10,000 worth, is it?
There are some expensive products here, but the sheriffs know they'll make a fraction of their retail price at auction. The most valuable items are the medicine stocks, but unfortunately for the sheriffs, prescription drugs are exempt from seizure by law.
Morning.
Morning, is it Mr. Khan?
That's me, yes.
Hi, Miss
My name's
Lee.
Adam Crossley, this is my colleague Miss Lee. We're
From the Sheriff's
enforcement agents for High Court enforcement officers. We're here considering unpaid writ of control, and we're here today to enforce it. The balance we paid immediately is £9,096.64.
Right.
Can you pay it?
I can't pay that amount.
Why can you not pay it?
I don't have that kind of money available.
All right, okay.
Tracy wants Mr. Khan to understand the severity of what happens if he doesn't pay his debt.
Mr. Khan, there's a writ which gives us the right to remove goods, so we are in a position to empty the premises. Is there anybody that can help you out with this?
Not with that kind of money, no.
If he really can't afford to pay, the sheriffs will need to see proof.
Have you got online banking?
Yes, I do.
Do you mind if I come with you to have a look at it?
I can tell you what.
Yeah, but what you might tell me and what you've got available might be two different things.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Khan takes the sheriffs into his office to show them his bank statements. It's not good news. It's clear that he doesn't have the funds to pay in full. He decides he no longer wants the camera in his shop, and we continue filming from the road. Inside, Mr. Khan tells Adam he has £300 of his own money that he offers to pay towards the debt. Given that it stands at more than £9,000, 300 won't be enough to stop the sheriffs taking the shop's stock away with them. And that's not all. The pharmacy is not a limited company, and Mr. Khan is trading as an individual, meaning his personal goods are on the line too. Although they were told his car was broken down, Tracy saw him arrive in one and goes looking for it.
It's a 540 BMW. It's a few years old, so the value of that, £1,000 max.
Mr. Khan has said the car belongs to someone else, and as it's barely worth the cost of removing it, the sheriffs don't press the point. Tracy isn't expecting to get the debt settled today.
We emptied the premises today, shutting down. The debt's not going to get paid, is it? It's looking like it's going to be an arrangement.
Back in the shop, Adam has reached the same conclusion. He's estimated that he might be able to raise £3,000 by auctioning the shop's goods. He explains to Mr. Khan that if he can come up with that figure, he'll list the goods, but leave them on the premises and set up an arrangement to pay the rest of the debt in instalments. Before he finishes, he's interrupted.
Adam!
We can if we can get
Adam.
a lump sum paid today. Yes.
Van's been trashed. Somebody stuck a brick through van window.
The passenger window has been smashed and Tracy's tablet computer stolen.
That's a lot of a brick.
It's a bit of a shock, but there's still a job to do.
Are you ring it, please?
No, I get this money out of this bloke.
While Adam heads back in to encourage Mr. Khan to come up with the money, Tracy is left to deal with the van.
Could I have the police, please?
10 minutes later, Adam has finally made some progress. It's not yet at his £3,000 target, but they're getting close.
His partner's left to go try and get some funds. She thinks she's got about £500 available in her account, so I think she's going to lend it to him. He's got some money's coming on Monday, so he wants to make him a further payment from that and then come to an arrangement to pay the balance.
The police arrive, and Tracy shows them the damage. The perpetrators have long since fled, but the officers collect what evidence they can.
You don't want the brick, then?
Inside the shop, Mr. Khan's partner has returned. Adam takes the £500 she's brought from the bank, and Mr. Khan makes a £300 payment online. They fill out the control of goods agreement, and Mr. Khan promises to make another payment that evening. Tracy, meanwhile, is left to clean out the van.
Look at this, eh? Woman's work. Not happy about this.
Adam finishes with Mr. Khan.
Have you done a good job in there?
500 in cash, 300 on a transfer. He's going to transfer 1,000 tonight, 1,000 again on Monday, and then he's proposed £800 a month.
So £800 in the bank and another £2,000 promised in the next few days. It's pretty close to the £3,000 that Adam said he wanted. And not a bad result considering how little value there was in the available assets.
Mr. Khan admitted that he had not responded to it, and I think it's focused his attention today that he just needs to deal with his creditors.
He didn't have the funds available. So all in all, I think it's a decent result given the circumstances. No.
The suppliers who were owed the money accepted the arrangement proposal of £800 a month, which to date, Mr. Khan has been paying as agreed. Enforcement agents Andy Joyreff and AD Long are in North East London, on their way to a business that hasn't paid a debt.
Today we're off to Quick Cars UK Limited in Old Street, London. It's a taxi rank that owes roughly around the £2,500 mark.
The money is owed to an individual who took the cab firm to court. They didn't pay what was ordered, so the claimant's now got a writ for the money.
There it is, Quick Cars. It's the one with the orange sign. Premises looks quite small.
The sheriffs head in to ask for the £2,413 owing.
Oh, sir. Do you work for Quick Cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Mr. Joyev.
Yes, sir.
I'm an enforcement agent.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here to enforce a High Court writ against Quick Cars UK.
He's not here.
Do you want to give him a call so I can speak to him? Excellent, thank you.
Whether the man is a dispatcher or a driver waiting for a fare isn't clear, but he's not the boss, and he leaves them to it.
We've gained entry into the commercial premises. The gentleman that's here now appears to be an employee. He says that the director of the company isn't here. He's just on the phone to him now.
While they wait, AD starts to explore, and almost immediately finds the letter his own office have sent out, warning the business the sheriffs were coming.
We have got an enforcement notice, so he can't deny that he hasn't received that letter off us.
Sheriffs are entitled to make a diligent search of a debtor's premises. And in doing so, Andy's found something interesting.
The certificate, the employer's liability, so Quick Cars UK.
The insurance document could prove the company is active and trading from here. Moments later, the man they spoke to on the way in reappears, with his boss on the phone.
Hello, sir. Is this Mr. Patel? My name's Mr. Joyev. I'm an enforcement agent. I'm here in order to execute a High Court writ of control. The balance is 241334. The High Court writ that we have commands that we take control of your assets to remove for sale at auction.
The director doesn't dispute they owe the money, but says there are so many other debts he won't be able to pay it off.
I understand exactly what you're saying, okay? However, the other debts are not my concern today. Now, I'm here at Enforcement Stage 1. Enforcement Stage 2 will incur an extra fee of £594, okay?
It's a lot of money to come up with today, but a Stage 2 fee will only add to the company's debt burden.
Get yourself down here so that I can speak to you face to face. I'm going to have a look around the office area, okay, see what assets are here, and then we shall go from there.
If the sheriffs are to accept a payment plan, they need to be convinced that it's in their client's best interests. Should the company have assets that could be sold to clear the debt immediately, then they won't agree to months of small part payments.
He says that he's contacted the office previously, advising that he cannot make payment in full. He wishes to put forward a payment proposal in order to clear the debt via instalments. What that proposal is, I don't know. He's going to come down in order to try and get this matter sorted out.
While they wait for the boss to arrive, they resume their search of the office.
Look and see if there's any vehicles that's owned by the debtor, but looking through some logbooks, it just seems as if all the drivers own their own cars.
If they can't find something valuable, such as a car that could be sold for the entire amount owed, the sheriffs have the option of seizing everything here on paper, while Quick Cars UK come up with the money.
There's a possibility that we'll enter him into a controlled goods agreement today, but there's no point wasting time sitting around, so I'm just going to start itemising the assets now.
There's little of value in the office, but there's an intriguing safe under the desk.
Anything in the safe?
It's locked.
It's locked. You got keys for it? No keys. The safe is bolted to the floor. It's locked. We'll ask the director to open that up.
Andy's hopeful that it will be stuffed with cash, but in the meantime, he's found some notes.
30, 40, 50, 60. So £65. Depending on what the director says when he arrives, I'll make a decision then on whether I'm going to take it or not.
Sheriffs can seize cash they find on a debtor's premises, and like any other asset, if it belongs to someone else, the debtor will have to prove it. The sweep of the office is now complete, but they'll have to wait for the boss to arrive to find out what's in the safe.
If he opens up the safe and there's plenty of money in there, fantastic, job done. However, if there isn't, we're just going to have to try and apply the pressure with what assets we have here today. We've got computer systems, the radio system. Without this equipment, I would believe that they wouldn't be able to trade.
None of it is worth very much second-hand, but would be expensive for the company to replace. Andy is hoping the boss would rather pay than see his equipment taken away. And a little over an hour after the sheriff's walked in, he's here.
Hello, sir.
We're asked to leave. Inside, Andy continues his examination, going through the company's online banking with the boss. There's not much there. And when the safe is finally opened, there's nothing there either. 40 minutes later, Andy and Adi are out.
We have pushed as much as we can. We've managed to achieve a controlled goods agreement with a £463 payment today.
Following Andy and Adi's visit, Quick Cars UK Limited have been making payments, and the debt is now well on the way to being cleared. It's another success for the sheriffs, and another of their clients who'll finally get what a court has said they're owed. Quick Cars UK Limited's director told us that when he took over the business, a court judgment was already in place. He said he had not been aware of the judgment until he started receiving notifications through the post.
Sorry. It's time to call the sheriffs.
We have every right to enter the premises by force if necessary. We will be entering that building.
Sheriffs are High Court enforcement officers who recover what a court judgment says is owed.
The writ orders us to come here and seize goods to the value of this debt.
They're the experts in getting cash that's rightfully yours.
£1,323.
But fighting for the underdog isn't a job for the faint-hearted.
Come on, self-load.
I will back that truck straight through your windscreen.
Debtors aren't pleased to see them.
They're harassing people.
Because they hate paying up.
Are you happy for me to just leave you some paperwork?
No, I'm not. Go away.
In today's programme, Robert Baker was made redundant after he tried to return to work following a kidney transplant. He won an employment tribunal, but his ex-boss hasn't paid a penny. Can the sheriffs put that right?
The total outstanding, £8,621.20.
And they might be worth £31.4 billion in revenue, but no company is too big for the sheriffs to take on behalf of an unhappy customer.
It's High Court enforcement. We've been issued a writ for Barclays Wealth.
And office manager Joan Wales won her compensation claim for unfair dismissal, but never got her cash. The sheriffs go to the home of her former boss.
If you want to call the police, Mr. Lifford, call the police.
They want to take his car to pay the debt, but he's got different ideas.
you'll be obstructing court officers from doing their job, which you can get arrested for.
Right, Mr. Lidford.
Try it. Go for your life.
Robert Baker lives in Witham, Essex. Robert used to work for a central heating company as a domestic heating and plumbing engineer. But one day he had an accident at work and it changed his life forever.
I was taking out an old cast iron bath and a bit of the metal had got stuck in my foot, and I ended up having to go to hospital, and my foot had become infected.
Robert had blood tests, and the next thing he knew, a kidney specialist came to see him.
He told me that my kidneys are only functioning at 10%. So I had to go back and see him a few weeks later, and they confirmed that I was going to need a kidney transplant, which all came as a bit of a shock.
The consultant told Robert his kidney problems were related to the diabetes he'd had since childhood. The blood test following his accident at work had revealed a life-threatening underlying problem.
Quite sort of bewildered by it all, to be honest, and sort of frightened, I suppose. And I thought, what next?
Despite the shock of his diagnosis, Robert wanted to continue life as normally as possible. He returned to work while he waited for his transplant. Robert tried hard to minimise the impact of his health issues on his employer.
I just got on with my work, and I had to have sort of various tests and all that done over the next 12 months. The hospital appointments I took out of my holiday entitlement. So it wasn't, like I'd been off quite, put him in an awkward situation, but I kept having time off. Spent about a year having all the tests done, and then got put live on the waiting list in the October of 2008. And within 2 weeks I'd had the transplant done.
Robert was in hospital for 4 weeks after the transplant, and then spent 5 months recovering at home before feeling strong enough to go back to work. He called his boss to let him know he was ready to return.
He said, I'll have to see what I've got for you. And I thought, well, what do you mean what you've got for me? That's my job. And then the next thing I know, I got a letter in the post saying, like, your job's at risk and you'll be invited into the office for a meeting to discuss redundancies.
Robert was the only employee made redundant. He went to an employment tribunal which found the correct procedures hadn't been followed and awarded him £10,000 compensation, but the company only paid £3,000. Robert went to a solicitor and now has a High Court writ for the money, but he still hasn't been paid.
I've done as much as I can to get the money back in a legal way, as it were. There's only so much you can do. We've gone about it in the right way, going through the solicitor. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so many things a solicitor can do. It's almost 2 years now since the judgment, and it's just gone on for too long.
Robert had one last option. He called in the sheriffs. This High Court Enforcement Office dispatched 2 officers to execute Robert's writ. It's 7:30 a.m. Sheriffs Lawrence Grix and Kev McNally are going to Chelmsford to see Robert's former boss.
When we get there, I would hope, in an ideal world, they'll just put their hands up and say, yeah, we owe the money and pay it. But we are there at the end of the day to remove goods. That's what we're ordered to do by the writ. We're not actually there to collect money. We're there to seize the defendant's goods to clear the debt, and the only way they can prevent that from happening is to pay us in full.
Lawrence and Kev have arrived, but the office looks closed.
No, not here yet. That's it.
Sheriffs don't give advance warning of visits. The surprise element makes it easier to track down debtors.
Give them a call or not alert them?
No, I'm not going to alert them yet.
The van in the car park could be removed to help pay off the debt, if it belongs to the business.
We blocked it in. If it's clear on finance, then chances are we'll be able to take it if we need to. So it's just a bargaining tool.
Wait for them to turn up then?
Yeah, so we might as well sit back in the van and keep warm. Finish off the coffee.
While Lawrence finishes his early morning coffee, Kev checks out the company's website. Time for a little wind-up.
10:30 it opens.
No.
No, I'm joking.
At 10 to 9, a car appears.
This is it.
Lawrence manoeuvred the van to get an early sight of any arrivals.
A4S line.
The driver goes into the office, and the sheriffs pounce.
Game on. Hello. Hello there, sorry to be nabbing you the second you walk in the door, but we've been waiting a while. The High Court enforcement officers. Right. We're here today to enforce a writ of execution against PD Lawrence and Son Limited. It's an employment tribunal case, and a former employee, Robert Baker. The total outstanding £8,621.20, right. And we need to collect that today in cleared funds, or we're here to remove goods.
Right, okay, I better ring Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I've got the High Court officers here. Just here as I've just come in the door. About the money that we owe Rob. Do you know what's happening with that? Well, I can't, can I? So I don't know if she'll answer. Shall I just write a cheque?
We don't take cheques, unfortunately.
Oh, they don't take cheques now?
Needs to be cleared funds. It can be bank transfer. We can do. We've got a chip and pin machine, so we can do a card payment.
It's 8,000 something.
£8,621.20.
8,600.
The company owner has a debit card, but he's over an hour away. The sheriffs can wait, but will charge for the privilege. It's in the owner's best interest to settle this as quickly as possible.
So do you have to stand here and wait?
We have to remain on the premises, although, I mean, technically we can force an entry anyway, because it's a commercial premises. But we need to wait on the premises. I mean, if there's, you know, if you don't want us here, if there's somewhere else we can sit out of the way or stand out of the way, we're quite happy to do that. We don't, you know, we're not here to to get in the way of your customers and stop you running your business, you know, by any means. So we're quite happy to.
Lawrence is quite happy where he is, with his new best friend. 5 minutes later, the receptionist, who's also one of the company directors, returns. She's transferred funds into an account with a debit card. Robert may be about to get his money at last.
Right, okay, just give it a sec, it's just configuring itself for some reason.
But the chip and pin machine isn't playing ball, so Lawrence sees if he can get better reception in the open air.
And I'll just put your card in there.
At last, the machine comes to life. Robert's money is paid in full. All that's left is some final paperwork.
Okay, I'll leave you a notice of seizure. I've just written down your shredder and your printer. Should anything go wrong with the payment and for whatever reason it not getting our account, it's not likely to happen because it's a chip and pin payment, but that's basically, I've just seized those goods in case, and there's a copy of the writ for you. Okay.
The sheriffs retrieve, on average, £2 million a month from debtors. They can now add £8,621.20 to that total.
Happy days. Job done.
We asked PD Lawrence and Sons to comment. They told us Mr. Baker was not dismissed due to ill health, but because of the economic climate at the time. The judge found that there was a valid case for redundancy in the company, but the correct procedures had not been followed. Back at home in Whittam, Robert is pleased he enlisted the sheriffs.
It was never about the money. I didn't do it for the money. It was the principle. Just purely, I wanted, you know, I want to be able to turn and say that, you know, what you done was wrong. And I was awarded that money in a court. Why should I be allowed to get away with it?
Executing High Court writs is a job that dates back to Saxon times.
We're looking for
just under £5,500. I'm here today to execute a High Court writ. Your vehicles are going to be seized and, if necessary, removed to cover the debt.
High Court enforcement officers have more powers than bailiffs to enter properties, to seize goods for auction, to settle debts.
We're here today to remove, and that's it.
You put that camper?
Yeah. Why? Because we're going to take it away unless we can get some money. You've put down a name on the lease that doesn't exist. Come on, let's get this stuff out of here.
Britain's High Court enforcement industry executes over 70,000 writs every year.
We have a live writ, and we are here today to seize goods to clear this debt.
Sheriffs return tens of millions of pounds to people owed money.
Oh, that's brilliant. That looks like I've got my money back.
When the cheque arrived, I thought that was wonderful because it made me feel there was hope.
The office employs 40 full-time High Court enforcement officers, and one man looking for their help is Dave Simpson. He runs a security firm in Bromley and feels mistreated after investing in a share scheme that ended up losing him money. He wants it back. The problem is, the people he wants it back from aren't any old company. They're Barclays Bank. Dave's problem started after Barclays' wealth department convinced him to invest £50,000 in a 5-year share scheme whose value would go up or down in line with the FTSE 100 share index.
There are risks with that. I understood the risk and I was quite happy to go along with that and invest the money for 5 years on the basis of what was going on with the stock market at the time.
2 years into the 5-year scheme, Barclays offered the chance for investors to leave it early, an opportunity that suited Dave.
I decided that when I had the opportunity to get the £52,000 back, it would be very useful because I've got 4 children and they've all got various needs, education and housing, and I was going to try and help them out with that.
Dave rang Barclays, who confirmed that if he cashed in his shares with them there and then, he'd make £2,700 profit on his £50,000 investment. He decided to go ahead.
So I wrote them a letter that specifically said, on the basis of what I was told on that day, that I would like to get my money back, and also I said I put my email address, my mobile phone number down there, and said specifically this is what I expected to get back, which I was quoted. If there was any problem with that, because I realised things could change, let me know.
Some weeks later, Dave received a cheque from Barclays. They'd cashed in his shares for £47,994, considerably less than the telephone quote for over £52,000 that had prompted him to sell them. Dave feels his letter was clear that if the value of the shares had dropped, Barclays should have checked with him before selling them.
I was pretty livid with it, pretty upset what they'd said and the way they were sort of being dismissive. So I wrote a letter back to them and saying, look, I'm not happy with this. I want you to escalate this complaint to somebody higher.
Barclays refused to refund Dave any money. In response, he decided to go to the small claims court. Dave's claim was uncontested, and the court awarded in his favour. So now he's been able to turn to the sheriffs.
They will send officers along to the bank to hopefully claim my money and to get the cheque sent to me without further ado. What I'm hoping to achieve is to put myself in the position I would have been in previous to this whole thing going wrong. That's all I'm looking for, and obviously any compensation for the interest and also the court fees. My understanding is that when it gets to this level and you've got enforcement officers going in, that's a pretty serious thing. If it was me owing the bank, they would have probably done the same actions as I'd done.
Dave called the High Court Enforcement Office and they swung into action. This time, Sheriff Kev is joined by Mark Newton.
We're just heading down to Docklands in London. We've got a writ for Barclays Wealth. The amount that's outstanding on this is £6,500.
A High Court writ costs £60. If the sheriffs are successful, there's nothing more to pay. If not, there's an admin fee, also of £60. Barclays has revenues of £31.4 billion a year. Dave Simpson, considerably less. But as long as there's a High Court writ, the sheriffs will do all they can to help Dave take on Goliath.
We can walk in, if that's the address we've got, that's the address we go to. It doesn't matter what they do or who they are. I think they've definitely got the money at the moment.
They'll get their legal team on.
But I think the likelihood is they'll either just accept it and pay it, or they'll get their legal team to talk to us. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when we get there. Hopefully we can get to speak to the relevant person. Our first problem is going to be trying to find somewhere to park.
But before they can tackle the parking issue, Sheriffs Mark and Kev have got to get past Canary Wharf security.
Oh yeah. I'm from the High Court. We got a writ for Barclays Wealth at 1 Churchill Place.
The sheriffs aren't the only special guests that security need to deal with today. The guard tells them Seb Coe's coming with his Olympics committee. Canary Wharf security successfully negotiated, Mark and Kev head to Barclays head office.
Churchill Place.
He said come back on yourself, didn't he?
Yeah, he said park outside their thing, didn't he?
Yeah, but not where Lord Coe's going to go.
Yeah, but I don't know where Lord Coe's going to go. It don't say Lord Coe's parking space.
I don't know, but that looks like one of his...
That looks like the security, doesn't it?
Coe or no Coe, they park up in front of head office and head in.
It's all going to go off now, isn't it? Minute. Said a minute, didn't I?
Oh, yeah. They speak to...
Barclays' front door is as far as the security will let our camera go. But Mark and Kev are allowed in to enforce Dave's High Court writ.
We better go to Barclays Wealth, can't we? We're from the High Court Enforcement. We've been issued a writ for Barclays Wealth.
The sheriffs have delivered the writ paperwork. Now all they can do is wait. Half an hour later, Mark and Kev have finished their business at the bank. Unsurprisingly, Barclays haven't handed over any cash just yet.
They weren't going to pay today, unfortunately. Because we had the writ in the name of Barclays Wealth, they're saying that's a non-entity. It's just a name that they use for a little department. The guy said he's going to take it away, look at the paperwork, and then if they have to pay it and it's owed and the judgment has gone against them, they'll pay it.
It seems Dave sued under the wrong company name. To get his money back, he'll have to bring another court action or get this one amended. It's all part of the lengthy process Dave will have to go through in his battle with Barclays. But thanks to the sheriffs, Barclays are at least now taking a great deal of notice of his complaint.
Barclays told us that they regret any distress caused to Dave Simpson, but said that due to an oversight, the relevant department wasn't made aware of Dave's claim until the sheriffs visited their office. They said they are in the process of arranging for the judgment to be paid in order to resolve the matter.
"6:30 a.m. and it's the first job of the day for Sheriffs Kev and Lawrence. They're acting on behalf of an office manager who was sacked with minimal notice from a company called Classical Flooring Limited. She won an employment tribunal and is owed over £10,000. On a previous visit, the sheriffs went to the company showroom and tracked down one of the owners.
Hello, sir.
He informed Lawrence that all the assets had been transferred to another company and so couldn't be removed to clear the debt to his former office manager, and he had documents to prove it.
I'm quite happy with the paperwork that I've seen, that none of the major assets in there, none of the equipment, the tools or anything like that actually belong to the two gentlemen personally. So there's nothing really at that premises we can actually remove.
Lawrence left empty-handed, but still noted the details of vehicles that could potentially be taken at a later date to clear the debt. The office manager, Joan Wales, was awarded £13,500 by an employment tribunal for unfair dismissal, but hasn't received any of it.
They just thought I'd walk away and I wouldn't fight for this. But I do fight, and I am fighting because it's wrong.
Joan was dismissed after over a decade of loyal service.
It's very hard. I didn't think they'd do it to me.
Fortunately for Joan, she has Kev and Lawrence on her side. They're going to the home of one of Classical Flooring's former owners to see if any property can be seized to clear the debt.
We've got a couple of cars to look for, one of which shows up on the HPI register, but it shows up as a personal loan. Now, a personal loan doesn't normally actually have any hold over the vehicle at all. It is just a personal loan, but sometimes the companies put it onto the HPI register just to try and protect it. So we haven't got in touch with the finance company or anything like that. We want to go there and find the car first, or stop it from being driven away. Then we'll try and make contact with the debtor, and if necessary, then we'll contact the finance company to see if they have got any hold over it.
The sheriffs have arrived. It's first thing in the morning to increase the chances of the owner being home. The car in question, an Audi TT, is parked right outside the front door.
Mr. Lidford, he's not here. Right, are you able to get him on the phone at all? I'll show you some identification. We're enforcement officers here to execute a High Court writ. Basically, we're going to take away the Audi.
The person answering the door says the Audi TT is on hire purchase and doesn't belong to Mr. Lidford.
It's not HP, it's a personal loan. Are you Mr. Lidford? Yeah?
Mr. Lidford has suddenly appeared and he's shut the door on the sheriffs.
Take the Audi then.
But before the sheriffs can do that, they need to call the finance company. The Audi cannot be taken if it's on hire purchase and belongs to that company. However, if Mr. Lidford bought it with a personal loan, he owns it and it can be removed.
Hi there.
No, sir.
Mr. Lidford asked the camera operator to leave his drive. He tells the sheriffs that the Audi is definitely on hire purchase.
Right, we did a HPI on it, and it's come back as personal loan, which isn't finance. I'm going to try and contact them now. I think we're probably going to be a bit early for them. But if it turns out to be a personal loan, we will be taking the vehicle.
Mr. Lidford gets into the other car in his drive. He may be making room to move the Audi before the sheriffs can take it. He asks the sheriffs to move their van.
We won't be moving at the moment, no, sir. Lawrence, mind yourself. Lawrence, mind yourself, Lawrence. We're not moving that, no. You won't be moving the van out.
Criminal damage.
You do that and we'll phone the police, you'll get nicked. Go for your life. You'll be obstructing court officers from doing their job, which you can get arrested for.
Right, Mr. Lidford.
Try it. Go for your life. Go for your life. I'm telling you, you'll get arrested for it. You're now hitting my van, so...
Mr. Lidford, we'll seize this vehicle as well.
Mr. Lidford says Lawrence can't. The vehicle he's driving doesn't belong to him.
Right, well, you need to show proof of that, sir. Yes, you do, sir.
It looks like Mr. Lidford is giving up trying to force his way out. He gets out of the car and angrily tells the sheriffs the Audi is definitely on hire purchase and cannot be removed to pay off the debt.
Right, sir, I've said to you, if it turns out that you're correct, because that vehicle is seized...
Mr. Lidford then accuses Lawrence of shouting at him.
He's not shouting at you, he's talking to you. Why are you getting in his face?
I've got a loud voice. Stand back and I'll try and talk more quietly, all right? I'm not deliberately shouting at you, I just have a loud voice. One of my colleagues came here before Christmas and left seizure paperwork on the Audi. Now, when you got that paperwork, you were then obliged to notify, if it was owned by a finance company, you were obliged to notify the finance company that the vehicle had been seized, and they then had to get in touch with us and make a claim to that vehicle and state their case. You didn't do that, therefore we're obliged to remove it.
Mr. Lidford goes back into the house. Having successfully blocked the Audi in, the sheriffs will wait until 9 AM when they can call the finance company to confirm who owns it. But it's a bitterly cold morning.
Have we driven to the North Pole?
Mr. Lidford comes back out and wants to know who the sheriffs are.
We're here to execute a High Court writ. Remember, we came to you at your business.
He says if the sheriff's van isn't legally entitled to be there, he's going to smash it.
He's been a bit more shirty than last time, hasn't he?
Yeah, I knew he would be.
The sheriffs wait in the relative warmth of the van. Half an hour later, Mr. Lidford emerges again.
He's coming out. No, I'll stay here for a sec. See what he's got to say.
Mr. Lidford says he's taken legal advice and the sheriffs must move their van off his drive. If they don't, he says he'll call the police.
Right, well, we've stated why we're here. If you want to call the police, that's entirely your prerogative, sir. And we haven't... Right, if you want to call the police, Mr. Lidford, call the police. Excellent.
It suits the sheriffs for the police to come. The law is on their side. They're in the process of enforcing a High Court writ, and they've done nothing wrong. An hour later, there's still no sign of the boys in blue. But it may be the sheriffs who'll need to call the police. Mr. Lidford decides to escalate the situation.
What do we need to do now, block us in?
You can't really open it without blocking the road.
I don't know.
It looks like this could become a war of attrition.
That does make me laugh.
Have you called the police, Mr. Lidford?
This makes you look really stupid, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think?
Yeah.
It's now 9 AM, so Lawrence calls the finance company and asks them to fax the paperwork relating to the ownership of the Audi. If the car is on finance and they hold the title to it, the sheriffs can't remove it.
Hello there, it's Mr. Grix, the High Court Enforcement Officer.
Half an hour later, the paperwork is faxed to the High Court Enforcement Office. But it is somewhat inconclusive.
I've got an email of the fax received by our office from the finance company with its covering letter. I've been told to have a look at it myself for my own peace of mind because it doesn't appear to say on it anywhere that they actually hold title to the vehicle. It just says purpose of loan if known, if there are any assets, which doesn't immediately implies that there's no actual hold over the car.
But when it comes to High Court writ enforcement, sometimes it pays to be cautious. Having seen the Audi close up, Lawrence doesn't think it will get more than £2,000 at auction. So it might not be worth an expensive emergency legal battle today to prove ownership. Lawrence decides to leave the ball in the finance company's court. They have 5 days to prove without doubt they own the car.
Hi, Mr. Lidford. Right, I've spoken to my governor, and he said basically because of the value of the car and the legal costs involved, we'll leave it. Okay, because it's going to rack up costs for everybody concerned unnecessarily. What I'll do, I'll leave you paperwork. Okay, again, it's paperwork seizing that. I've also, because we've not seen any paperwork, seized that. Okay. I'll get in touch with your guy from the finance company myself to tell him what we're doing. I would imagine he'll get in touch with you. He'll have to make his proper third-party claim against the vehicle, OK? And the legal people will battle it out without the necessity to actually go to the court, which it would. Because if it ends up going in front of a master at the court, which it would, then you're looking at more than the value of the car just to have a hearing with the master. And somebody's going to get stuff with that either way, OK? So, just to keep the legal costs down, that's what we're going to do. OK, so I'll give your guy a ring in a moment. If you want to let us off your drive, we'll be out your hair.
Lawrence and his colleagues have one of the highest collection rates in the industry. But sometimes they do have to bide their time before they can get the money for their clients.
I'm now going to get onto the finance company and let them know what we're doing and invite them to submit their third-party claim in accordance with RSC Order 17, which should have been done when we last left the paperwork with Mr. Lidford. I've no doubt this time they'll do that, If it turns out it goes our way, then obviously we'll be back and take the car. But it just saves the unnecessary legal expense of actually having to battle it out in a court and storage costs racking up on the vehicle, because nobody wins then, and the legal costs just outweigh what you're going to get for the vehicle.
So Joan Wales may still get her money, but for the time being, she and the sheriffs must remain patient. It's early morning, and Mark and Kev are in the West Midlands. The sheriff's mission? To get another member of the public the money they're owed.
We're off to Solihull now. We're going to see a Mr. Kempf. He owes £1,900. He used to run a post office, which he no longer does. Apparently, we're just going to his private address now, so we'll give him a knock this morning and see how we get on.
At the post office that the debtor, Pradeep Kent, used to run, an elderly customer broke her foot in an accident, leaving her housebound and in plaster for several weeks. When lawyers representing her wrote to Mr. Kent to pursue an injury claim, he wouldn't confirm that he was the post office owner. The injured lady and her lawyers have managed to prove that Mr. Kent was the legal owner, but it's cost them thousands of pounds in court costs to do so. The courts awarded the legal costs against Mr. Kent. Some of this debt is still outstanding, which is where Mark and Kev come in.
Oh, there you go. Hiya. Mr. Kempf.
Mr. Kent isn't in, but his wife is. Our camera operator has a conversation with her and agrees to film from the road. Mrs. Kent says they've already paid off the money to the claimant.
You didn't receive nothing and thought it was the same case. That's what I'm just wondering. You may have thought it was the same
and if you
case
thought
that you just paid.
If you thought it was all finished with.
Mark checks back in with the office to find out what's going on.
It's the costs, yeah, it's the costs of the last one. The costs wasn't paid from the last case.
Some of the legal costs are still outstanding, and Mark and Kev aren't going anywhere until these costs have been paid.
Well, we need to collect that amount straight away, otherwise we're going to have to start seizing goods.
Mrs. Kent accepts she must pay the injured lady her money, but she's got to find the cash first.
Well, we have to wait here while you sort that payment out. Unfortunately, we'll have to charge if we have to wait. We'll give you an hour, and after an hour we'll start to charge, yeah? No problem. All right.
All this waiting around is bringing out the team spirit in the sheriffs.
Oh, getting cold standing out here.
Come in here, Kev. I'll give you a cuddle, keep you warm. We spoke to the defendant's wife. Apparently he's not here. The lady's now trying to get the money together, supposedly. If she refuses to pay, we're going to start clamping up some of the vehicles that are on the drive here, so hopefully it won't come to that. We'll just have to wait and see what happens from here.
The family should have no problem paying, as a quick phone call back to the office confirms that just one of their cars would more than cover the debt.
Well, that's worth 11 grand.
11?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
That much?
I don't know what year it is.
While Mark and Kev wait, an uncle arrives to help the family out. But it doesn't speed up the payment. It's now 10:30 a.m. and Mark and Kev have been at the house for over an hour and a half. There's still no sign of any money, so Mark decides to try and move things along. He sets about clamping the cars on the driveway. It's his way of showing that if he doesn't get the money, he'll take the cars instead. But this doesn't go down well with the uncle.
I am. What are you doing? Whoa, 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 whoa.
I just fell over there.
You didn't fall over? You didn't fall over?
You do not touch him.
You did not fall over?
I did.
Do you understand? OK, all right, you fell over.
Did the uncle deliberately knee Mark, or did he just fall over? Whatever it was, it doesn't stop Mark clamping the cars, and it has the desired effect. Mrs. Kent agrees to pay up what the injured lady's owed in full, but she's still got to find the money. And as time goes by, Mark's bill isn't staying still.
OK, just to let you know, the bill's going to go up because The amount's not what's on the letter there now. It's gone up by £181.50 plus VAT.
It looks like Mark's tactics have paid off. A family friend arrives with the money.
So I'll do £2,005 on this? No, sorry, hang on. I'll put 2,005p instead of £2,005.
Frozen brain, and outside 3 hours.
Okay, that's yours. I'll just do your receipt for the payment.
With the full amount owed now collected for the injured lady, Mark gets a chance to reflect on his run-in with the uncle's knee.
As I was clamping the vehicle, sort of walked past me, and I didn't see what he'd done, but he said he tripped over, but I think he might have tried to knee me a little bit, but it was all a bit handbaggy really, nothing major. We got there in the end. It took a couple of hours to get the result we needed, but in the end they paid like they should have done in the first place. Really, they would have saved themselves a bit of money for us waiting around for the waiting time, but they paid the full debt, so that's dealt with.
Sheriff Lawrence is going to see Joan Wales, his client in the unpaid unfair dismissal case against Classical Flooring.
Hello, Joan.
Oh, hello,
Hello, I'm Lawrence. Nice to meet you.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Lawrence is reporting back on his visit to Mr. Lidford's home.
We're not going to get into his house, that is for sure. He was coming out, locking the door behind him.
Oh, yes.
You know.
He won't be happy.
So he's got no assets that we can get our hands on, basically.
Because the ownership documents for the Audi were so inconclusive, Lawrence recommends against taking the risk of removing it.
There's a potentially huge cost implication for yourself if we did go and take it and then they put in a claim for it.
Right, OK.
The finance company turn around and say, yes, we have got a title to it. It then becomes a legal battle, and if you dispute the claim, and it goes all the way to the High Court where you go in front of a master and he makes the decision, just the cost of doing that and the storage, etc. in the meantime will probably outweigh the value of the vehicle.
But Joan was prudent enough to include both the Classical Flooring owners, Mr. Lidford and Mr. Barnard, in the High Court writ she obtained for her money.
If you'd like us to go round to Barnard's and try and catch him, that's what we'll do next.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that?
It's been very draining.
Yeah.
Personally wise, you know, through all of this, because nobody wants to be on the receiving end of this, and nobody wants to be sat here where we are now.
You know, you shouldn't have to do battle to get what's yours at the end of the day. You shouldn't, you know.
I shouldn't have to worry about having to pay for anything that those people owe me, because a judge has sat there and said, Joan, you are awarded £13,500, and this is all wrong.
Yeah.
Totally wrong.
No, you won't get any disagreement from me there.
Joan wants the sheriffs to keep up the battle on her behalf, for as long as it takes.
I'll never let them get away with it, never. I'll fight to the bitter end. So, yeah, I will.
And Lawrence will continue his fight to get money for all his clients who are owed cash.
The majority of people pay their way through life, don't get into debt, don't refuse to pay for things. It's the minority that won't pays. There's systems in place to help the can't pays, but the won't pays shouldn't be allowed to get away with it, and we're redressing the balance by going after them.
Since Mark and Kev visited former post office owner Pradeep Kent's house, the injured customer is delighted to have received her money back in full and is very glad she turned to the sheriffs. A month after Lawrence and Kev went to Joan Wales's former boss's home, Joan's considering forcing both of her former employers into bankruptcy to try to get the money she's owed. The sheriffs will soon be carrying out another early morning seizure. Hopefully next time things will prove more clear-cut. And in Essex, kidney transplant patient Robert Baker is delighted he finally got his £10,000 Employment Tribunal Award, thanks to the sheriffs.
Just ecstatic, to be honest. You know, I sort of got the money at last. Knowing that it's all done and dusted and I can just can get on with my life. It's just a huge relief.
Next time, plumber Ray Millett paid for and fitted a full central heating system for a building company, but he didn't get paid a penny.
To treat people in this way, it's pretty despicable, really.
Can the sheriffs get Ray his money back?
We need to collect the payment, which is £11,100 now.
Sheriff Pete Spencer revisits a road services company that owes a former employee thousands.
Well, listen, I'm a director of the company. I'm now asking you to leave the premises.
From the police.
I will do.
OK.
And when Jan Smith sold valuable items through a local auctioneers, she expected a hefty cheque. Instead, she got an antiques no-show.
I haven't had any money whatsoever. It's just outrageous. It is outrageous.
The sheriffs go in search of the cash she's owed.
Back.
Arrestable offence to stop me in doing my job.
If you've been ripped off and don't know where to turn...
I'm not waiting anymore.
I'm ordered to seize goods to clear this debt, which would mean clearing this place out.
If you've been to court but still not been paid what you're owed...
Why don't you just tell me who you are?
This is an absolute prop. You need to pay this.
It's time to call the sheriffs.
I've seized your car, sir.
You can have a letter through the door or we'll go through the window.
Whoa.
They're enforcement officers of the High Court. And the law says they're on your side.
It's collected 42 grand.
Coming up, Sue Bodkin's van broke down after just a few days.
I was left without a van and I was devastated.
Sheriffs Lawrence and Kev visit the garage that sold it to her. Can they get her what she's owed?
You need to sort this out today, or we will strip this garage bare.
This one going?
Yes.
This one's going, sorry, man.
In London, the sheriffs are evicting squatters from a barricaded building.
I've got a writ of possession for the property and you're getting evicted this morning.
But as tensions rise, can the eviction be completed peacefully? And sheriffs Daryl and Mark are in pursuit of an old adversary with a huge debt.
I was gobsmacked. It's a figure in excess of 7 million.
But where is the elusive debtor?
John.
He's done one. He's ran upstairs and hid.
But first, at Greenwich in South London, a commercial building has been occupied by squatters. Since squatting in residential property was criminalised, they're occupying a wider range of commercial buildings. But wherever they go, if the landlord gets a writ of possession in the High Court, the squatters can be evicted within days, with the help of the sheriffs. This morning they face a real challenge. The building has been barricaded by the squatters. Can the landlord's locksmith get the sheriffs in? Leading the eviction is Enforcement Officer Conrad Van Zyl.
We don't know how many occupants are inside. We've got a locksmith with a High Court writ. We've got the power to force entry and obtain possession back to the client.
The landlord wants to redevelop this one-time photographic studio, but this is the second time squatters have occupied the building. It has several entrances, all with high security doors.
We're just assessing around the building, and as soon as we find a suitable place, we'll attempt to go inside.
With the locksmith on standby for now, the sheriffs will attempt to talk their way in.
Hello? Hello? Anybody inside?
There's no response from inside the building. The landlord's locksmith will now try to force entry. The new approach gets some attention.
Good morning, mate. Enforcement officers from the High Court. Got a High Court writ of possession for the property. You've been evicted. Do you want to waken everyone up?
Excuse me, what are you doing?
We are enforcement officers of the High Court. I've got a writ of possession for the property and you're getting evicted this morning.
Yeah, but nobody gave us papers or anything.
I've got a legal document that gives me the power to obtain possession of this property. You better start packing your belongings.
Defeated by the jammed lock, the locksmith is going to try the second door. Meanwhile, some of the squatters have come down into the alleyway.
I've got a writ of possession for the property. Yeah, you can have a look at it.
You're not filming, please.
While Conrad talks to the squatters, the locksmith attempts the second door.
I'm showing it to you. Once inside, I'll show you.
This time, the outer door opens.
At the minute, they've barricaded the property from the inside. There's a couple of them on the side of the building, and we're now attempt the negotiation process to see whether they want to open or not.
At the alleyway fence, the squatters are claiming they should have seen paperwork. But the sheriffs know that a live High Court writ is all they need.
Say again?
You would like to have one copy of this paper?
No, that's not how it works, mate. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. No. It's not how it works.
We are in democracy.
Well, there's no point shouting from up there, show me the papers, and I've got it in my hand, is there? Come on down, I'll show you it. No, I haven't got, like, massive arms to give it up to you. Come on down, I'll show you it.
The roller shutter has been jammed from the inside and won't open. It can't be saved.
We just cut it with a grinder, just go through it.
Meanwhile, the police have arrived, called by the squatters.
Yeah, I don't know.
I tell you what it is.
Yep.
I'm a High Court enforcement officer. There's my badge.
Yep, lovely.
That's the writ from the High Court that gives us the power to enter the property this morning.
Right.
The locksmith is still unable to get into the building, but the squatters have got out.
Well, where did you come out?
Yeah.
Let's talk, yeah? No, listen, I'm going to explain it to you, yeah? Stop talking over the top of me. I've already explained to your colleague. Listen, this is a High Court writ of possession for this property. You're in a commercial building, you're squatting, okay? Right, writ number 66. Claimant, the person that owns the property. Defendant, persons unknown, i.e. you and your colleagues, right? Yeah. Bit about the Queen, bit about the authorised officer. Tells you a bit more what I'm commanded to do, which means I've got to cause the claimant to have possession of this property, which you're in. What else would you like to know?
They are still arguing about the legality of the eviction.
No, there's no talking to be had, real lawyer. You're being evicted.
I think it's my...
No, listen.
We are still in democracy.
No, listen. Okay, okay.
This one.
Excuse me, you keep telling me you're still in democracy, yeah? This gives me the power to remove you. You're unlawfully in this property. Simple, okay? I've showed you it 2 or 3 times. I've told you who I am. I've explained this to you. We're keeping around in circles. What you need to do is start packing your belongings.
Another of the squatters thinks there's something wrong with the date of the writ. But the sheriffs have heard enough, and so have the police.
Now listen, okay? Trying to give you any doubt, just give you a chance to pack your belongings. Okay? Otherwise, he'll lock it, put a padlock on it, and the stuff will still be in there. You've probably been evicted by the County Court Bailiff, which is a different process than High Court. County Court Bailiff will tell you when he's coming, and they'll turn up at a date and time. I don't. Yeah. That's how it is. I don't.
The locksmith has gone back to the first door. One of the landlords has arrived.
We can't waste longer to attempt to go in. Is there any way we can smash this and get inside?
Although the police were called by the squatters, the law is on the side of the sheriffs. So now they're going to assist with the eviction. The locksmith ramps up his efforts. But as the door continues to give the locksmith trouble, one of the landlord's colleagues arrives with something that should help. He has the keys.
This one? I think this is for the front one. Do you want to stick your hand and see if you can open that front one, please? Thanks.
So we're in. So we've managed to open the first door, and now we're going through the shutter door.
The shutter doors are still jammed from the inside, and the police are talking to the occupants. When we return, we'll see what happens when the sheriffs get inside.
I've got a legal document to evict you.
Enforcement officers, known since Saxon times as sheriffs, have special powers.
We're High Court enforcement officers.
We're higher than a bailiff.
Sheriffs can enter residential premises through an open or unlocked window or door.
Don't put your hands on me.
Once inside, even the police can't get them out.
You want to phone the police? That's your prerogative, sir. Not a problem at all.
I'm not leaving, no. I'm an enforcement officer with a High Court writ.
But refuse a sheriff entry to a commercial building...
Your director says you're not allowed to let me in.
...and you can't keep them out.
I'm going to call the locksmith then, sir.
They're permitted to force entry...
I'll get a crowbar out of my van.
...to seize goods or return a building to its rightful owners. sheriffs, Lawrence Grix and Kev McNally, are heading down to the seaside.
We're heading down to Hastings, down the A21.
Is that where Harold got one through the eye?
Allegedly.
Lawrence and Kev turn to the matter in hand.
It's 8:15 in the morning. We're going to Hewenden Road Garage Limited on behalf of Ms Susan Bodkin, and we're looking today to seize goods to the value of £1,857.90.
They're on their way to help professional puppeteer Sue Bodkin.
And he's called Pirate Pete. My name is Pirate Pete.
She's been entertaining children and adults with her puppet performances for more than 15 years.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. You've got very kind children.
Sometimes she uses an innovative portable booth.
The way my booth's made, I disappear. So they really can create a world of wonder for them. And they think it's much more real than it actually is.
Sue planned to offer more ambitious puppet shows, but for that she would need transport.
Before I'd just been using my small little booth, which I could take on a bus or walk about in, and I thought it's about time I make a bigger show and have someone help me. I thought, well, I've only got a small car, so I need to get a larger vehicle. But I actually live on very little money, and I'm on sort of working tax credit, so it can be a bit of a struggle.
Looking round for a vehicle that would fit the bill, she happened to pass local dealers Hewenden Road Garage when she spotted a bright yellow van.
I was quite excited, but I thought, no, calm down, it might be a wreck. He took me out, the garage owner, Philip, and it seemed okay, and it wasn't too expensive.
Loving the van, she paid £400 in cash for it and traded in her old car, making a total of £750 for the van. A big investment on a small budget. She took it home, but just days later she ran into problems.
I tried to start the van and it wouldn't start, and I noticed the warning light was on, and I thought, oh no.
Sue got the van restarted, but she continued to have problems with the engine cutting out.
I began to get more and more concerned because as I was driving about, the van would suddenly cut out, and then I'd be stuck on a roundabout or up a hill, and I felt quite scared in that position because I had people honking their horn, getting impatient, and I thought, I don't feel safe in this vehicle and I won't be able to drive it anymore, and I need to go back to the garage and definitely sort this out for good.
Sue asked Hewenden to fix the van and was told the problem was a fuel filter. She paid £40 to fix this and drove the van away. But it was far from the end of her problems.
The next day it was still as bad. I thought, no, this is not good enough. So I decided to go to another garage and get it fully checked out.
The new garage told her the problem was the engine control unit, or ECU. She went back to Hewenden to demand they fix this.
Basically, he said that he could fix it for me, but it would be another £450. And I said, but if this was a problem, surely you should be fixing it, because I bought it from you and it was only a little while ago.
If the car wasn't fit for purpose, consumer law means Sue had the right to have it fixed or get a refund. Encouraged by her family, Sue contacted Hewenden Road Garage, insisting they fix the faulty van they had sold her.
Every time we tried to contact the garage by letter or by telephone, he just refused to have any contact.
Sue's plans to expand her business had to be put on hold.
And then I was left without a van, and I was devastated because I had no way of doing my work and I had no vehicle to get about.
Sue was left with no alternative but to take the garage to court. Hewenden didn't attend the hearing and a judgment was issued in Sue's favour. The garage then applied to have this set aside, but their appeal was thrown out. But despite the court awarding Sue £890, she's still not been paid. Her only hope of seeing her money now rests with the sheriffs. Lawrence and Kev have arrived at Hewenden Road Garage in pursuit of Sue's money. The garage is full of equipment the sheriffs could seize, but the one thing missing is the boss. A few minutes later, one of the engineers gets him on the phone.
Hello there, sir.
The garage owner tells Lawrence that he's aware of the debt, but claims he doesn't have to pay it. But Lawrence knows otherwise.
The court ordered you to pay, didn't it, sir? Well, yes, it did.
The owner says he'd agreed Sue would return the faulty vehicle to him, but as she hasn't, he won't pay. This is something Sue Bodkin strongly disputes.
That's not what we're here to sort out today. We have a writ here ordering us to seize goods to clear this debt. You need to sort this out today, or we will strip this garage bare.
Faced with the alternative, the owner agrees to come down. But Lawrence warns him not to delay any further.
Quick as you can, because we do charge waiting time per hour that we're here. OK? Cheers. Bye-bye.
If the owner doesn't pay, gear will be seized, and in a workshop full of tools and equipment, there's plenty of choice.
There's well enough equipment to warrant seizing it and removing it if needed to be. Hopefully it won't come to that.
And then Kev spots something that chills even a seasoned enforcement officer.
Freddy Krueger in the corner. Not sure we'll be taking him. Probably quite collectible because he's quite realistic. Collector's auction, he'll probably go down quite well. I'll list their Freddy Krueger down just in case.
The owner's not yet in, but his son is, and he's familiar with the story.
You know about the case, do you?
Yeah, sold the van and about 6 months later the customer went after it.
Lawrence and Kev have already been at the garage over 40 minutes when the owner, Mr. Koronic, the man who sold Sue her yellow van, arrives. Lawrence loses no time in setting out the situation.
Bottom line is, Ms. Bodkin got judgment against you, and with all the additional court costs and our fees, it's £1,857.90, which needs to be paid today. If you want to pay us in full, that will prevent further action today.
I can't pay because I need time to sort this out.
If you're telling me that you can't pay it, then I'm going to call in the trucks and start emptying the place now, because obviously the longer it takes, the more money it costs. And it's quicker to get it done now than it is to sort of drag out an argument for 2 hours.
But the garage owner believes none of the goods can be seized.
I can assure you that everything here is personal tools and the rest of it's all on finance anyway, and I've got proof of all finance, and you know you can't remove finance
Right,
stuff.
if do you want to get your finance paperwork?
I've got all my finance paperwork.
Yeah, do you want to show us that?
I can do, yes.
You can't tell us things, you need to prove things.
The owner phones for advice.
Do you want to go? Yeah, no problem. Go on, I'll just cut the camera.
At this point, our camera is asked to stay outside. The owner says he can't afford to pay.
The guy's just been on the phone to the bank to see if he can get his credit card limit upped.
2.5 hours after the sheriffs walked into the garage, a business advisor arrives at the request of the garage owner. He gets the owner to produce paperwork showing much of the kit in the garage is on finance and can't be seized. But having counted up the agreements, Lawrence believes one of the diagnostic machines is not on finance. He just has to find which one.
Obviously that one we can tie in because of the number. At the moment, this one we can't.
Bingo. They find the machine owned by the garage and seize it to help repay Sue's debt. Kev's keen to get the machine into the van as quickly as possible.
It's left the premises.
Bring that back.
You haven't shown me the agreement?
We're sorting it out.
My colleague just said, hold up, wait there. My colleague just said bring us out. Lawrence!
Yeah, on me way.
This one going?
Yes.
This one's going, sorry mate.
We've looked at all we've looked at all the agreements and it isn't on there.
So we've just got a bit of diagnostics kit here. Generally quite expensive. Continue to go through the list, see what other stuff they got. Hopefully there'll be some other stuff that we can remove as well, get in the van.
With only one diagnostic machine, Kev and Lawrence are keen to take some smaller items so that their value at auction covers the debt owed to Sue.
These are skates. Put them under the wheels of a car. It's a multi-function fuel pressure tester. Timing tool kit for a Renault. It appears Freddie's coming with us for today. I might put him in the front instead of Lawrence. He'd be more use, wouldn't he? He'd be a lot more interesting to talk to.
Their equipment is disappearing out the door, but Hewenden Road Garage is still refusing to pay. The sheriffs have already been here almost 4 hours. How much longer will it take for Lawrence and Kev to get Sue Bodkin the money she's owed? Back at the squat in Greenwich, it's crunch time. The sheriffs and plainclothes police have been explaining to the squatters that they will be evicted today. The squatters aren't cooperating, and even though the landlord's locksmith has failed to get through the barricaded doors, the sheriffs will get in.
To be honest with you, Conrad, I'm just going to smash it completely to smithereens.
Just smash it a bit. Smash it on the lock side. Just bash it. That's it. Nice work. I've got a legal document to evict you.
Yeah, we're just packing our stuff.
Oh, now you're packing. Now you're packing. It's an arrestable offence if you don't adhere to the command of High Court Enforcement Officer.
With the sheriffs finally inside, the mood changes. The majority of the squatters realise the game is up and start packing their things.
Now you've got 10 minutes to pack and leave.
The sheriff's job now is to get the occupants packed and out as quickly as possible.
When you pack up, just make sure you've got all your stuff, because once you're outside, you won't be able to get back inside. No problem, thank you. At this stage, they've been quite helpful and they pack up their stuff and they are most willing to leave the premises.
The squatters are cooperating, but they still believe in their case.
Rich people have lots of property and poor people have nothing.
The very same
so I believe the law is wrong. Yeah. But I understand that you're saying this is the law and we have to leave and it belongs to this person. I understand.
I'm not in a position to question.
I know you're not because you follow the law. I'm in a position to question it because I've got a free mind.
As the squatters prepare to leave, Conrad assesses the state of the property.
We don't want to be funny about the occupants inside. We respect everybody's beliefs, but it's the state and the condition that they're able to get these properties into, and that causes a lot of financial damage to the owners of these properties. Come on, young man.
Young lady.
Young lady, come on, young lady.
Although the mood is lifted, the landlord isn't as positive, because he's been through it all before with a previous group of squatters, evicted just a few months ago.
It's just a circle of debt, cost, time, and it just seems you get nothing at the end of the day. You know, once they take it over, they apparently have the right to be able to use all your electric, water, waste, whatever you need. There's no relief from the council, something, no cost put on them, all on the owner again.
It's been quite a siege, but now the sheriffs are where they want to be.
We're inside, now we're occupying the premises. They're out and we're inside. All evicted. They're in front of the premises now, obviously waiting to go. But we're happy, we're satisfied, and so is the landlord and the owner.
Last series, the sheriffs paid an early morning call to Leicestershire dentist John Hammond. He'd borrowed money from an elderly lady for a business venture, but hadn't paid her back.
We're ordered here by the court today to seize goods to the value of £10,706.66.
With 2 High Court enforcement officers on his doorstep, he soon decided to pay up in full. You might have thought that would be the end of the matter, but it isn't. The elderly lady isn't the only person owed money by the dentist. One of the others is IT contractor Andrew Dixon from Kegworth in Leicestershire. Andrew has known Mr. Hammond for many years.
I've known him since my late teens to early 20s as my dentist, and he's always been very affable and approachable. I never had any fear with him.
Andrew had been saving for his upcoming retirement, looking forward to spending less time working and more on his pastimes like metalworking. His problems started when, during one of his regular visits to the dentist surgery, they got to discussing a business plan Mr. Hammond had.
He was explaining to me that he had interest in commercial property, warehouses particularly, and he was looking for an investment of 100,000. And over time we talked about it, and it ended up I made an investment of 10,000.
The dentist told Andrew he would earn 10% interest a year on his loan and would receive the interest in regular instalments.
He always backed it up with, and of course I have a dental practice that turns over 200,000 a year, so I personally will guarantee this. I never felt my money would be under any risk at all.
Andrew received 2 interest payments and was awaiting his third when Mr. Hammond came back to him with another request for money.
He approached me for a short-term loan, 60 days, and allow him to take up an opportunity of buying shares in a vehicle which he thought was going to be very productive and rewarding. I loaned him 35,000, which he said would be useful for the 60 days.
But after 60 days, the promised full repayment hadn't materialised. Andrew chased him up.
He said to me he'd forgotten, and during the course of that conversation he explained that he was struggling to find the money to repay me and would need a few more months before he'd have the money to repay me the 35,000. I'd also noticed that there'd been a shortage of interest payments on the original 10,000 loan. And I realised after various conversations with John that this money was not going to be coming back.
Andrew visited a financial advisor who told him he was by no means alone in being owed money by Mr. Hammond.
When I first saw the paperwork showing the amount that was owed by John Hammond, I was gobsmacked. Absolutely floored me. The amount John Hammond owes, my understanding is it's a figure in excess of 7 million.
Knowing he was one of many owed money by Mr. Hammond hasn't made it any easier dealing with the financial impact.
The loss of the 45,000 has meant I've had to slow down preparation for retirement, and it's taken me some time to work out really what I need to do and reassess my whole life.
In an attempt to get back his money, Andrew took his ex-dentist to court. Mr. Hammond didn't contest the case, and a judgment was issued in Andrew's favour, but he still hasn't been paid. The court awarded Andrew just under £80,000, but with interest, costs and sheriff's fees, that amount's now risen to over £87,000. It's now up to the sheriffs to try and get this money back. The £87,000 owed may be only a fraction of the £7 million that's claimed by Mr. Hammond's creditors, but it's a big total for enforcement officers Daryl Orriton and Mark Povey to collect today. But they've got a good idea of what assets might be available to use as leverage.
We're going to his home address. We know he's got a Jaguar, which we're hoping is going to be on the drive, get that blocked in. Don't think it's a great value. Let's hope we can get into his house, put a bit of pressure on, see if we can get this money raised.
There's no sign of the Jaguar, and it doesn't seem anyone's home. But eventually, Daryl's persistence pays off.
Good morning.
Sorry, but not having one.
Right, we're looking for John. Is he at work? We're High Court enforcement officers. Could you get him on the phone for us?
Mr. Hammond's wife tells Daryl her husband has applied for an individual voluntary arrangement, or IVA, a form of insolvency. She says it will be agreed within the week and makes all of his debts unenforceable.
Right, so there's nothing in place at the moment then. Could you just get John on the phone for me?
Mrs. Hammond goes inside to try and get hold of husband John, leaving the door open. Daryl uses his powers as a sheriff and makes peaceful entry.
Just need to wait in there.
Mrs. Hammond quickly gets her husband on the phone. He claims he has an interim bankruptcy order that protects him from creditors until the IVA is in place. Worried, Daryl needs to know more.
What date did this interim order come? Have you been given a bankruptcy number? Have you got any paperwork here to back that up, John?
All right, John. Bye. I'll just step in here.
He's telling me there's no money available. He's telling me I can't do anything in there because of this interim order, which, if it is all above board, then that is correct.
If Mr. Hammond can prove the interim order is in place, the sheriffs will have to stop the enforcement. But until proof arrives, Daryl isn't giving up. He seizes goods in the house that might be set against the debt. Then he and Mark set off in pursuit of Mr. Hammond's Jaguar. And arriving at the surgery, there's the Jag. They seize it, prevent it from being driven away, and head to reception.
See what he's got to say for himself.
But who's that heading inside? It's Mr. Hammond. Unfortunately, the dentist has also spotted Daryl and Mark.
Oh, he locked us out. That's not very nice, is it?
Morning.
Morning. I've come from my molars to be done.
Have you?
While Daryl tries the polite way in, Mark checks round the back. And with the tradesman's entrance unlocked, he seizes his chance to make his own peaceful entry.
You locked his door?
I think so.
But where's Mr. Hammond? He doesn't seem keen on talking to the sheriffs.
John. John. Come on, John. Sorry, man, I was looking for John. John. We'll hang around for a bit, see if he surfaces. Got his car blocked in.
Daryl's not had a hider like this before.
We've had him walk off. Yeah. Leave us in the house, tell us to lock the door when we're there, and do what? We haven't played hide and seek before, have we?
With Mr. Hammond refusing to come out, Daryl makes a call to Lawrence in the office to discuss his next step.
He's done one. He's ran upstairs and hid. Okay, cheers. Bye. Bye. Got the car in, but 04 plate. I'll have a little look on Auto Trader, see what the value is, but it ain't going to be 87 grand, is it?
With Mr. Hammond refusing to talk, Daryl and Mark can do nothing else but join the patients in the waiting room. After 10 minutes, Mr. Hammond still doesn't want to show his face, but he sends an employee with the paperwork confirming his interim order.
Does that just come through now, or is it...
It's a body blow for Daryl and Mark's hopes of getting Andrew back the money that was rightfully his.
No other proceedings or no execution or other legal process may be commenced or continued against the debtor or his property, except with the leave of court.
The order means for the time being, no debts can be collected from Mr. Hammond. It's a disappointing end to Daryl and Mark's game of cat and mouse. The worst news for Andrew Dixon is it looks unlikely he or any of Mr. Hammond's many creditors will ever see their money again.
And I think by the time the bankruptcy process has followed through, I'll have let go fully emotionally and learnt my lessons and get on with things, which I'm starting to do now.
Although they couldn't get his money, Andrew is pleased he asked the sheriffs to help.
They've tried their best, and it's very pleasing to know they've been around rattling his doorknob.
At Hewenden Road Garage in Hastings, Sheriffs Lawrence and Kev have been trying to get payment for puppeteer Sue Bodkin. She bought a van which broke down only days later. Lawrence has been patiently going through all of the garage's equipment, seizing items that aren't on finance. Now, after more than 4 hours, garage owner Philip Koronick realises the sheriffs won't be put off. When the sheriffs visit, the debtor must pay their fees. Lawrence and Kev have been kept waiting for hours. So the total bill is now £2,500.
But we've stood around and waited and waited and waited. We've looked at every piece of paperwork you come up. Look, I've said I'll cut it to 2.5, which by the time the money gets here would be 3. So I'm basically knocking 500 quid off your bill, plus the other however many hundred would go on as soon as we turn the wheel away from here to the auctioneers. So I know it doesn't seem like it because there's a lot on top, but you're getting a good deal at 2.5.
When we initially came here, we did say, if we're going to be here all day, then you will charge in waiting time.
If you're going to do it now. If the £2.5 arrives, we'll unload the van, leave your paperwork and we'll be on our way. Simple as that.
The owner agrees, but says he can't afford £2,500. Lawrence settles for £2,000 now, with an agreement for the rest to be paid later. Now the owner wants to put his side of the story.
Bearing in mind this was a year ago and she's had this van for all this time. And then she only tells me out of court afterwards that she's got rid of the van. So I just walked off and said, well, get me the van and I'll give you the £750 back, not knowing that I probably had to go back into the court at the time to actually understand, to say to the judge that. But I didn't. I just thought it was game over, finished, you know. And I haven't got the van back and I've just been given a load of grief.
But the court didn't order Sue to return the van, and on legal advice, she disposed of it. The court did order the garage to pay up, and that's what they're doing now. The money will be paid on a card by the owner's wife. To make it as quick as possible, the sheriffs, the owner and the seized goods are all on their way to meet her.
So we're off to Eastbourne, it's basically to save the effort of the debtor going there and back. We're following them there, we'll take the payment from them there, and then we'll make our way from there.
The garage owner still disputes how much he has to pay, but Lawrence points out that the only way he'll stop the total going up anymore is to settle now.
We got there at 8:30, it's 2:30. That's 6 hours. If your wife's got £2,000 now, she had £2,000 at 8:30 this morning, you live in Eastbourne, you could have come and seen her this morning, got her card, come up and paid it. And we'd have been 6 hours better off. If you're not going to pay it, I'll leave you some paperwork and we'll go.
No,
No, because you pay £2,000, it still leaves it open for them to come down the workshop. I'm totally in dispute over this, and you know I am, because it started off as a £750 debt. It started off as a £750 debt.
But the sheriffs are here to collect today's debt, which arose because the garage didn't refund Sue Bodkin her money, and then didn't pay when the court ordered. As a compromise, Lawrence says that £2,000 can be paid now, and the rest of the debt settled by payment plan, paying off a small amount each month.
It still has to be paid, but it'll be at X amount a month, as opposed to a big lump.
Finally, they do agree to pay. But disaster strikes. The card machine isn't working.
I've literally just turned it on, and it's coming up return terminal to base station.
As Lawrence works out how to take the money off him, Mr. Koronick reflects on the case.
Unfortunately, I seem to have mucked up on this one because, what with a shortfall of paperwork and not going back into court afterwards when the judge sent us out. So that's it. Yeah, very unhappy.
Now it seems there's a problem with the phone mast in Eastbourne, so they all set off in search of a signal.
What we can do if we're not getting a signal? Nothing we can do.
But it becomes clear the problem is the machine, and it isn't going to be fixed, so they all pull over.
What I propose we do is we go our separate ways, you make your payment by whatever method, and then we'll bring your stuff back. It's our fault the damn machine isn't working, so, you know, I'll put myself out now to sort it out, yeah?
Lawrence and Kev drive the seized goods away. It's not been a great end to the day.
That's as bad as it could get.
A nightmare on Elm Street, nightmare in Hastings.
Nightmare in Hastings.
All in all, really, we were about 8 hours and didn't manage to secure a payment. So we've still got the goods in the vehicle. Freddie has got to stay with us overnight tonight, and I'll be returning him in the morning.
Is that the oddest thing we've taken?
It's
one of the most peculiar.
It's got to be getting there, isn't it?
Yeah. You won't.
But the nightmare had a happy ending. Some days later, the garage entered into a payment plan, and puppeteer Sue Bodkin finally got the money that is rightfully hers, in full. Sue is visiting a unique piece by Britain's best-known street artist, Banksy. She's chosen this location because she knows her favourite sheriff, Kev, is a Banksy fan. So was it worth taking her claim all the way to the sheriffs?
It shows that if you are struggling and someone takes you for a ride, that if you find the courage, you can go forward and fight for your rights and get people made accountable. I'm really, really grateful to the enforcers for all they've done. So thanks, Kev and Lawrence.
On a sunny afternoon in Norwich, enforcement officers Daryl and Mark are on their way to a rather different sort of debtor. It's not the usual small business. The company they're about to visit is the world's 6th largest insurance company.
We're going to Aviva Insurance today in the centre of Norwich. It's not a huge debt, it's just over £1,600. They have paid a substantial payment anyway. For whatever reason, the full balance was never paid, so they've obviously upgraded it now to the High Court, so we're there to enforce it.
The case centred around an insurance claim on behalf of a child. Aviva paid the claim amount, but failed to pay the legal costs. The sheriffs are here to get the money that's owed.
It's like our usual sort of line of work, isn't it?
Yeah, just normal run-of-the-mill job, isn't it? Reinforcement officers from the High Court need to speak to somebody. Yeah, if you could, please.
Take a seat, gentlemen. I'll get someone down for you.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
This is one building Daryl and Mark don't mind having a bit of a wait in.
Marble Hall. It's very nice, isn't it?
But the sumptuous surroundings aren't just easy on the eye. The room is chock full of potentially valuable and seizable decorations. But before we can get a closer look at them, more senior staff arrive and ask us to leave the premises. Remaining inside, Daryl outlines what he's there for.
We've got a High Court writ to execute. You have paid just under £3,000, so I don't know why the remainder hasn't been paid.
The Aviva representative tells Daryl he'll need to look into the case, but that whatever happens, he won't be able to pay the sheriffs today. However, he's happy for them to carry out a walking possession, listing goods that could be removed and sold if they don't pay the next day. Mark gets listing.
I didn't need to seize much. Everything's made of marble in there. I seized a few marble items, really. A few things in the glass cabinets.
A few minutes later, the Aviva man's back. He confirms he can't pay today, but will put a bank transfer in place, which might take a few days to go through.
Give us some printed proof that's gone. I can give you a receipt. We know you're not going anywhere.
And with that, the walking possession is signed, and the enforcement is over.
Yeah, that was a good result. It's all been paid in full. Paid just over £1,600, direct into our account by Bax. It was a bit of an oversight on their half. They had a look into it. They paid a substantial amount, but there was just a small bit that was missed for some reason. So it's all cleared up now. So that's a good result.
Following Daryl and Mark's visit, the payment did clear. It's further proof that whether your debt is from a small business or one of the very biggest, it can be recovered by a High Court writ. Aviva told us the judgment related to a claim involving an infant, and that they had paid the damages owed to the claimant promptly and in full, as well as the majority of the costs. They